So after my supplement brand had a 10K-ish launch week, it took us about 8 months to cross 10K per month. So for 8 months, we've been on or less than 10K a month. Then 3 months later, we hit 40K per month. And then 4 months later, we're at $1 million run rate. Knowing what I know now, we could have crossed 10K per month way sooner. And as a result, we'll hit $1 million run rate way sooner. So I can't turn back time, but I'm creating this video to share the 3 insights and takeaways that I've had from the journey so you can shorten the gap for yourself. The first one is traction before perfection. What does it mean? So when I started, I wanted everything to be perfect. I installed all of the apps, I optimized the funnel, I obsessed over copy, over funnels, over landing pages, the listing, the images, everything, that I neglected creating more traction as getting more people to know about our product and more people to talk about our product. So as a result, more people buying our product. And it looks, the math is pretty simple. If 10,000 people land on my website and I have a 3% conversion rate, I get 300 sales. If 50,000 people land on my website and I only have half of that conversion rate, I will still make like 2.5 times the sales. So obsessing over the perfect landing page, obsessing over the perfect copy and design at this stage is usually a waste of time, because all of that focus and energy can go towards getting more people to know about your product. And as a result, more people will buy it, even if the conversion rate is lower, because first create attraction, then optimize and see what works. But you only do that, it only makes sense once you scale up. Like I installed all the welcome sequences and the automations and everything, but we barely had any leads. So when we focused on creating traction, as in creating more awareness, getting more people to know our product, this is where things started snowballing really fast. And that brings me to the second point, which is social proof is more important than sales. Because what every new product is lacking is trust. With no social proof, no reviews, if people have never heard about that product and they just see a random piece of content or an ad, they likely won't buy it, or they will only buy it if it's significantly cheaper than any other product. They would prefer to buy a product that has reviews, social proof, or they heard about it from someone they trust. So the way we mitigated it is we obsessed over collecting the most social proof rather than obsessing over getting the most sales as soon as possible. Because even if you get, let's say, 100 sales, and now your goal is to get 1,000 sales, or to go from 10 sales a day to 50 sales a day, it will be much easier when you have more social proof, when you have more people vouching for your product. And as a result, the conversion rate also goes up. And this is what we realize. Like, we don't need to obsess over copy. We don't need to change the words. We don't need to change the designs all the time, because there's always a limit to what our words mean. Like, if I sell the product, my words are valued at, hey, you're selling the product you want to sell. I understand what you're doing here. But this is why we were focused on getting advocates, which are the influencers that our ideal customers trust, to recommend our product. So when people land on our website, they don't judge us as a new brand they just stumbled upon on an ad. They already got a recommendation from someone they trust. So the conversion rate was even higher. Like, we didn't need to focus so much on optimizations and creating new landing pages and funnels. We could just have more people to recommend our product. So for us, these were advocates, and we did it through the advocates funnel. The other thing is reviews. So instead of thinking, hey, how can I get from 100 sales to 200 sales as soon as possible, I was thinking, how can I take the 100 sales that I already got, and how can I collect the most social proof as soon as possible? So we repurposed the content that our advocates created for us, which is 100% authentic because we never paid them to recommend our product. And we used it in order to drive more sales. So getting more sales is easier the more trusted voices recommend your product and the more reviews and social proof you have. So the objective is, how can I collect the most social proof as soon as possible so that I can grow as fast as possible later. Then the third point is compounding is more important than anything, or it's more valuable than anything, because most brands obsess over, hey, I need to get as many customers as possible, and I need to get my customers to spend as much money as possible, which basically creates linear growth, right? Because there's always a limit to what customers would end up spending with you. They will not spend 100x than what they spend now. So it creates linear growth, right? You improve your LTV by 10%, 20%, you get them to buy more, et cetera, but there's always a limit. But when customers attract new customers to you, this is where exponential growth happens. And this is what we focus on. So again, instead of thinking, how can we get the most customers, we're thinking, how can we use the customers we already have in order to get new customers? So we used our referral program. We turned our customers into affiliates who promoted our products to their friends and their family. We were focused on collecting social proof from these customers. So they posted it online, we then used it, we then got more sales. So even if it's not a direct referral, just obsessing over collecting social proof, because we realized that if 10 customers left 10 reviews, and those 10 reviews now brought us to 100 reviews, and we get more sales, and we get better conversion rates. So what was the value of those 10 customers? It is way more than what they would ever spend with us. And for the best example is that our Amazon sales were stuck below 5K for these 8 months. But then once we started obsessing over collecting social proof and we created systems that collect all this social proof, this is where things started snowballing really, really fast. And then 3 months later, we're at 40K per month. So, and that's because we collected 100 reviews. So we went from 22 reviews to 100 reviews, and now we're like almost 300 reviews. But it was that realization that getting more customers is easier when you focus on the customers you already have. So just to summarize this, first, create traction. For us, we, instead of obsessing over funnels and copy and landing pages and automations and flows and all of that, we focus on how can we get the most people to know about our product. So for us, that was the advocates funnel, which we got the influencers that our ideal customers trust to authentically recommend our product to them. So instead of, again, creating new landing pages or thinking, is it good, is it not, we just say, hey, we just need more advocates. We just want more advocates so more people know about the product, so more people buy our product. Then we obsessed over social proof. We got the customers and we took really good care of them. We installed some systems that collected reviews from these customers. They're not automated systems. They are systems that we automated because, simply asking for reviews doesn't really work. If you try Trustpilot or Judge.me or whatever, it doesn't really work, or Amazon reviews, it doesn't really work. So different systems are needed here, like one-on-one outreach to customers. Once you get decent reviews, this is where you can put some automations in place once you know what works and what resonates with your audience. And then the third piece is that we prioritized things that compound, like taking care of our customers, turning them into raving fans who not only buy more, but they also refer other customers, refer their friends, and leave reviews that help us get more sales. So these are the three findings from our journey, and I hope that was helpful to you. So happy growth.